Hello, Mark. I'm going to read some news, and my first topic is Host of Expo 2020, Dubai, a city of rapid development. The Gulf Gulf Emirate of Dubai chosen Wednesday to host the 2020 World Expo, transformed itself over 50 years from a sleepy port town to a regional travel, trade, and financial service center. The city-state, one of seven sheikdoms that make up the United Arab Emirates, is now home to more than 2 million people, most foreigners, compared with only 50,000 inhabitants in the 1950s. Unlike Abu Dhabi, the leading member of the UAE that sits on a large wealth of petroleum, Dubai has dwindling oil resources and has worked to develop non-oil industries, diversifying into services. It is home to the world's third-largest international airport, handling nearly 58 million passengers in 2012, as it has become a travel hub linking the West with Asia and Australia. Australia's Australasia. On top of that, it recently opened a new airport, thought it to be the world's largest when completed, with capacity planned to hit 116 million passengers annually. The new airport is adjacent to Jebel Ali Port, the largest harbor in the Middle East and one of the world's top container terminals. It feeds a sprawling free zone that cements Dubai's status as a major stop for transit trade. Over the past decade, Dubai has also multiplied its tourism projects, many of which are larger than life. This included not just seaside resorts, but also an indoor ski slope defying the scorching desert hot. Dubai also built Burj Khalifa, the world's tallest tower standing 828 meters, ascend as 2,770 feet high. The rise in tourism went hand in hand with a rapid growth in construction, including man-made homes shaped in islands and a cluster of islands taking the shape of the world's map. But the Emirate was hit hard in 2009 by the global financial crisis, which stripped of international finance available for the grand, grand, grandiose projects, and the property sector that had grown at breakneck speed over 5 years ended up taking a free fall, shedding half of its value, and large groups linked to government faced mountains of debt. The Emirate economy was buoyed by Abu Dhabi, its deep pocketed partner with extended a multi-billion-dollar lifeline to the troubled neigh- neighbor. But after a limited contraction, Dubai's economy got back on its feet, banking on its strong fundamentals embodied in tourism, trade and transport. Dubai receives some 10 million visitors annually, and said it hoped to welcome 25 million during the six-month expo. Okay, and my next topic is weapons fired near US base in Japan. Radicals suspected. Improvised rocket launchers were fired close to a US airbase near Tokyo, police and the American military said Friday, with suspicions falling on one of Japan's small ultra-leftist groups. No one was hurt and no damage was done in the incident, which media reported came just hours after the arrest of senior members of the radical faction that followed a pattern seen 4 years earlier. The incident occurred at 11:30 p.m. on Thursday. Flying objects were launched near the U.S. military's Yokota Air Base. A spokesman for Tokyo Metropolitan Police said several reports were made by neighbors that they had they had heard explosions at about 11:30 p.m. Police discovered two steel pipes, two wires, batteries, and so forth. No damage has been reported so far and police have not found the projectiles. Local media reported the pipes were buried in a groove, with the upper end pointing in the direction of Yokota Air Base. A statement from the U.S. military confirmed the presence of an improvised mortar launch outside Yokota. There were no injuries and thus far we have found no damage or impact points here on base. We take matters of security at our installation very seriously and we are assisting police, it said. There have been no claims of responsibility, but police believe it may have been a guerrilla attack by extreme leftists. GG Press and other media say broadcaster NTV reported police were concentrating their investigations on the Revolutionary Liberals Association anti-majority faction because the incident came just hours after they arrested a top-ranking member on Thursday. A similar incident occurred 4 years ago, when police raided hideouts of the same leftists, NTV said. Japan's politics is generally moderate, although there are vestiges of the radicalism on both left and right that abounded in the 1960s and 1970s. At that time, Japan was in the middle of a decades-long period of blistering economic growth as the largely rural country that emerged from the defeat of World War II rose to become the global's second largest economy. One of the most infamous groups was the United Red Army which, despite its small size, gained notoriety for its extreme brutality. A linked group, the Japanese Red Army, operated from Lebanon in tandem with Palestinian militias, carrying out high-profile terror attacks including a massacre at Israel's Lod airport and hijackings of Japan Airlines planes. Japan is host to almost 50,000 US service personnel and their families. The two countries have a mutual defense agreement that, in practice, means Tokyo is given shelter under Washington's significant security umbrella. But many people in Okinawa, where the bulk of US troops are based, resent their presence and increasingly local content wants them to leave. However, reports of violence to this end are not common. In a 2012 agreement, the United States said it would pull 9,000 Marines out of Okinawa, 4,000 of whom would go to Guam and 5,000 to Hawaii, and no rotations of Australia. Thus, with its 6-2 is a long-running standoff over the future on its huge military presence in one of its top Asian allies. The planned Marine move, which is due to begin in the early 2020s, is part of wider rebalancing of US military assets in the region under President Barack Obama's Trump pivot to Asia. Thursday's incident also comes as tensions run high in the region between China and Japan with the focus on a group of disputed islands in the East China Sea. Okay, and my next is American B-52s flood China's newly declared airspace. The US flew two B-50 bombers through the East China Sea Tuesday, taking them through China's recently declared air defense zone. The move followed rules laid down by China just days before, sending a clear message about US opinion of China's unilateral declaration of sovereignty. China this weekend declared the airspace above disputed South China Sea islands as part of Air Defense Identification Zone, and said planes traveling through it must notify Chinese authorities. The US sent no notification of the B-52 flights, which were part of a scattered military exercise, according to the Wall Street Journal. In its first public comment on the incident today, Chinese Defense Ministry told the Wall Street Journal that it had identified and monitored the US aircraft, as it would do with every flight to the air zone, and warned that it had the capability to impose effective control on the area. A Chinese Foreign Ministry statement today further clarified that its new policy does not restrict the right of others to fly through the area. The air dome lies over the disputed group of islands claimed by both China and Japan, known in China as the Diaoyu and Japan as the Senkaku. Japan already claims the airspace. The declaration of Air Dome is perceived as an effort by Beijing to boost its claim to sovereignty sovereignty of the island, and it is part of the larger bid to change the status quo in the East China Sea by making the issue a live dispute and eventually making it difficult to prohibitive for Japan to claim its territory. U.S. officials told the Wall Street Journal that they had to challenge the air defense norm to make clear they don't consider its establishment appropriate in the interest of regional stability. U.S. officials stressed that both the exercise and the flight path were long planned. A senior defense official said that Secretary of Defense Chuck Hagel, who was briefed on the exercise, had made clear over the weekend that U.S. should continue to fly over the islands. There was little debate in Pentagon about canceling the exercise or adjusting its flight path. Changing the exercise, the official said, would make it appear that Mr. Hagel was backing down and that the U.S. was acquiescing to the new zone. U.S. defense officials said that there would be further military exercise in the area, and acknowledged it is possible that China could attempt to contact the intercept that aircraft involved in future flights. Officials said the military's Pacific Command routinely prepares for contingent size, but that planners didn't think it was likely to China would attempt to challenge the flight. China made no attempt. U.S. military planes often ignore the air defense norms of non-allied countries and frequently respond to many radio calls by asserting the right to operate in an international airspace. China made no attempt to contact the aircraft. The Foreign Ministry said today that its lack of action was in accordance with the Defense Ministry's guidelines and that the response would depend on how big the threat was. The New York Times reports Japan also followed China's newly asserted air zone guidance today by flying civilian commercial aircraft through the zone without identifying them, in a reversal of a position taken a few days back. Naval expert Zhong Junshi told state-run Chinese news agency Xinhua that the establishment of a East China Sea Air Defense Identification Dome is not related to the situation around the Diaoyu Islands and should not be considered a countermeasure against Japan, adding that it was necessary to protect severe sovereignty and security, and common international practice, and was born out of self-defense. There is little risk of conflict over such moves, a Japan analyst told to Christian Science Monitor. Clash isn't likely. First, clash isn't likely, he adds. China's international is not to show its military strength or to spark to conflict, but to underline its severe, 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 sovereignty over the disputed islands known as Diaoyu in China and Senkaku in Japan. That is a view shared by a senior Japanese military analyst, who asked not to be identified because of the sensitivity of the issue. Both sides want to avoid an incident around the Senkaku. He says both militaries have been very, very careful about not going to each other's air or sea space since the dispute broke out in September last year, deploying civilian proxies such as Coast Guard vessels instead, pointed out. But with both sides claim that the right to monitor aircraft in an overlapping zone, and to scramble fighters to deal with unidentified craft. Accidents are more likely. U.S. Secretary of Defense Chuck Hagel warned Saturday that China's declaration of an ADIZ increases the risk of misunderstanding and miscalculations. Japan has no intention of validating China's unilateral claim, the Monitor reports, because the Japanese increasingly see China's pressure in the East China Sea as a test of their determination. Standing down on one issue could lead to a cascade of similar moves, to a crisis to China's demands for their identification while flying through the area would sound as if we admit their claim to the territory, the Japanese analysts say. An impending trip of China, Japan, and South Korea by Vice President Joe Biden was meant to focus on economic issues, but will now likely be consumed by fallout from the air defense zone. The New York Times reports. A senior Chinese analyst, Xie Yunhong, said that it presented a test of wills between the US and China, which already has fraught relations with many of the countries in the region as well as the US. But most of all, Mr. Biden will now be faced with the reality of Beijing's determination to show what kind of major power relationship it wants with the United States, namely one in which China is regarded as an equal. But Mr. Xi defended the new air zone as an expression of China's determination to be regarded as a great power. This is the first time since establishment of the People's Republic of China in 1949 that it has expanded its strategic space beyond offshore waters, he said. The expansion of China's strategic area provoked the United States to fly the two B-55 bombers through the new air zone, with warning Beijing, he said. The expansion of China's stra- strategic area provoked the United States to fly the B-55 52 bomber through the new air zone without warning Beijing, He said. That's why Washington made such a harsh and firm reaction, he said. There represents Americans saying no to China's aspiration in the Western Pacific. Okay, and my next topic is eight eight dead as police helicopter crashes into Scottish pub. 8 people were killed and 40 others seriously injured when a police helicopter crashed into the roof of Packet Glasgow pub, trapping many inside in choking dust and debris, Scottish police said on Saturday. Witnesses said the helicopter dropped from the sky like a stone onto the busy Culloden pub in Scotland's biggest city on Friday night while more than 100 people were crammed inside, listening to a live music concert. Witnesses said the helicopter dropped from the sky. The helicopter crew, 2 police officers and a civilian pilot were among the dead, and the others were discovered inside the wreckage of the building, Chief Constable of Police Scotland Stephen House told reporters. He said 14 others remained in hospital with serious injuries. The 12-meter 40-foot helicopter, a twin-engine Eurocopter EC-135T2 made by subsidiary of EADS, spiraled into the pub in the center of Glasgow, destroying part of the roof. The mango wreckage remained embedded in the middle of the building as the search continued through Saturday. We are still in a rescue of recovery situation, House said. Until the helicopter is out of the way, we don't know what is going on underneath. Immediately after the crash, revelers caked in dust and blood rushed out into the street. Passers-by, including the local member of parliament, formed a human chain to bring out the injured from the building. It was very busy. We were all having a nice time, and then there was like a whoosh noise. Grace McLean, who was in the pub at the time, told the BBC. There was no bang, no explosion, and then there was what seemed like smoke. And we were all joking that the band had made the roof come down, and then it started come down more and someone started screaming, and the whole pub filled with dust, and you couldn't see anything. You couldn't breathe. Black day for Scotland. Tearful relatives and friends of those caught up in the incident gathered during the day, some laying flowers at the scene, and the Queen Elizabeth and the Prime Minister David Cameron were among those to express their sympathy. This is a black day of Glasgow and for Scotland, said Scottish First Minister Alex Salmond, noting that Saturday was St Andrew's Day, Scotland's National Day. Celebrations in Glasgow were cancelled, flags flown and held mass on government buildings, and special service was held at Glasgow's Roman Catholic Cathedral. Police said it was too early to speculate on what caused the Eurocopter, popular with the emergency services worldwide, to come down. Witnesses said it did not appear to have caught fire. The air accident investigation branch began an injury, and Eurocopter said its experts were now standby to help. The British Airline Pilots Association (PALPA) said safety issues have to be examined after a number of fatal helicopter crashes in recent years. In August, 4 people were killed when a Super Puma L2, also made by Eurocopter, crashed into the sea of Scotland's Shetland Islands, with oil workers on board. The fifth accident in 4 years in the area, involving different models of aircraft. Investigators said there was no evidence to technical failure. Whilst there will be understandable questions on why this happened, it is our experience that speculation about cause is often wide of the mark. PALPA said in a statement. Nevertheless, trends in helicopter safety are a matter of concern after a number of recent incidents. Writing by Michael Holland and Guy Falconbridge, editing by Kevin Leafy. Okay, thank you for listening. Bye bye.